A general stands on a battlefield. The Second Punic War is raging. Rome and Carthage are locked in a deadly struggle. This general has seen battles, has seen victories, has seen defeats. But today, he will die. Today, his story will end. The Second Punic War lasted 20 years, from 218 BCE to 201 BCE. It involved the greatest generals of the ancient world: Hannibal, Scipio, Gracchus, many others. Today we're going to explore how 15 major generals of the Second Punic War died. 15 tales of death in battle. 15 stories of how the greatest military minds met their end. 15 accounts of mortality and finality in ancient warfare. If you're interested in ancient history, the Second Punic War, how military leaders died in combat, the strategies of ancient generals, and how history records the deaths of great men, subscribe to Surprising. Every week we explore historical turning points in military history. We examine how great generals lived and died. We discuss ancient warfare and its consequences. We analyze the strategies and tactics that defined empires. Subscribe now so you don't miss our next video on ancient history and military leaders. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And thanks for watching. These are the stories of how history's greatest generals died, how they fell. Reason 15. Gnaeus Scipio, defeated and executed in Hispania. Gnaeus Scipio was the uncle of the famous Scipio Africanus. He was sent to Hispania to fight Carthaginian forces. Hispania was a brutal theater of war. Battles raged constantly. The Carthaginians controlled much of the peninsula. Gnaeus Scipio was sent to change that, to wrest control from Carthage, to expand Rome's power. He won battles. He won the hearts of the soldiers. He won the respect of his men. He showed brilliance in strategy, showed courage in leadership, showed wisdom in decision-making. But in 211 BCE, he faced a formidable enemy. Mago Barca, another Carthaginian general, led forces against him. Gnaeus Scipio was defeated in battle. Defeated in a confrontation he thought he would win. After his defeat, he was captured by Carthaginian forces, taken prisoner, held in captivity. He was executed, beheaded by his captors. His head was displayed as a trophy. His head was shown throughout Hispania. It was a message that Rome could be defeated. It was a humiliation for Rome, a shock to the soldiers, a blow to morale. Reason 14. Lucius Scipio, killed in battle in Hispania. Lucius Scipio was the brother of Gnaeus Scipio. He also fought in Hispania against the Carthaginians. He followed his brother into command, followed his brother into battle, followed his brother into the thick of warfare. After his brother's defeat and execution, Lucius continued to fight, did not give up, did not surrender to despair. He fought bravely against overwhelming odds. He commanded troops with skill. He led soldiers with determination. But in 211 BCE, the same year his brother died, Lucius was killed in battle. Killed in combat against Carthaginian forces, killed while fighting for Rome. He died fighting, died defending Rome's interests in Hispania, died with his sword in his hand. The death of both Scipio brothers was a catastrophe for Rome. Both killed in Hispania, both within the same year. Reason 13. Sempronius Gracchus, the hero who died in ambush. Tiberius Sempronius Gracchus was one of Rome's greatest generals during the Second Punic War. He was a brilliant strategist, a master of tactics, a leader who inspired loyalty. He won every battle against the Carthaginians. He never lost a confrontation. He never suffered a defeat. He was undefeated. The soldiers worshipped him. The people of Rome revered him. He was the hope of Rome in Hispania, the man who could defeat Carthage. But in 212 BCE, he was caught in an ambush set by Hannibal himself. Hannibal planned the trap carefully, positioned his forces cunningly, set the stage for disaster. Gracchus was surrounded. His army was destroyed. He was outmaneuvered by superior strategy. He was killed in the fighting, killed in the ambush, killed despite his skill. He died a hero, died undefeated in direct combat with Hannibal, but died nonetheless. His death was a tragedy for Rome, the loss of their greatest hope in Hispania. Reason 12. Hasdrubal Barca, defeated and killed at the Meteorus River. Hasdrubal Barca was Hannibal's brother. He was a brilliant general in his own right. He had fought in Hispania, had won battles, had shown military genius. He was sent from Hispania to Italy to support Hannibal's campaign, to reinforce his brother's forces, to bring additional troops, to bring supplies, to bring hope to Hannibal's weakening army. But at the Metaurus River in 207 BCE, he was met by Roman forces under Gaius Claudius Nero. A great battle ensued, a confrontation that would decide the fate of the war. The Romans defeated Hasdrubal's army, defeated them in a pitched battle, defeated them decisively. Hasdrubal was killed in the fighting. Killed in battle, defeated by superior strategy. His death was a turning point, a sign that Hannibal could be defeated, a sign that Rome would prevail. The death of Hasdrubal meant that Hannibal would receive no reinforcements, would get no additional troops, would be weakened further. Reason 11. Maharbal, the Numidian general who died in defeat. Maharbal was Hannibal's cavalry commander. He was brilliant with horses and cavalry tactics. He was perhaps the best cavalry commander in the ancient world, master of mounted warfare. He won many engagements. He was successful in numerous battles. He defeated Roman cavalry repeatedly. He was Hannibal's right hand, his trusted subordinate, his brilliant cavalry officer. But as Hannibal's fortune declined, so did Maharbal's. As Carthage weakened, so did the cavalry. Eventually, Maharbal died. The exact circumstances are unclear from historical records. But he died during the Second Punic War. Some sources say he was killed in battle. Others say he committed suicide after a defeat. Others say he died of wounds sustained in combat. The truth is unclear, but Maharbal did not survive the war, did not see Carthage's defeat or victory, died before the end. Reason 10. Mago Barca. Killed returning to Carthage. Mago Barca was another brother of Hannibal. He was a general in his own right. He fought in Hispania. He defeated numerous Roman generals. He won battles that seemed impossible. He was sent to Italy to reinforce Hannibal, sent to support his brother's campaign. But eventually, Mago was wounded in battle, wounded badly, wounded so severely that he could no longer fight. He decided to return to Carthage to recover, to heal from his wounds, to regain his strength. But on his journey home, he died from his wounds, died before reaching Carthage. He died en route, died away from his homeland, died before he could see his family again. His death was another tragedy for the Barca family, another brother lost, another brilliant general gone. Reason 9. Hanno the Great, defeated in Africa. Hanno the Great was a Carthaginian general of considerable reputation. He was known for his military skill. He was sent to Africa to gather reinforcements for the Carthaginian war effort, to raise new troops, to gather supplies, to strengthen Carthage's forces. But he was met by Roman forces. He was defeated in battle. His mission failed. After his defeat, he was captured by the Romans. Taken prisoner, held in their custody, he was executed, killed as a prisoner of war, killed as a trophy of victory. He died a prisoner, died after capture, died away from his homeland and his people. Reason 8. Flaminius, killed by Hannibal. At Lake Trasimene, Gaius Flaminius was a Roman consul. He was confident in his abilities, perhaps overconfident. He was sent to stop Hannibal's advance into Italy, to stop the Carthaginian invasion. He marched his army toward Hannibal, marched with confidence, marched believing victory was certain. But Hannibal was waiting in ambush, waiting for the right moment to strike. At Lake Trasimene in 217 BCE, Hannibal set an ambush of extraordinary brilliance. Hannibal positioned his forces around the lake, positioned cavalry to cut off escape routes, prepared the perfect trap. Flaminius walked into the trap with his army, was surrounded, was trapped. His army was destroyed. 15,000 Roman soldiers were killed. It was a catastrophe. Flaminius was killed in the fighting, killed in the ambush, killed despite his confidence. His death was a shock to Rome, the death of a consul, the symbol of Rome's vulnerability. Reason 7. Aemilius Paulus, killed at Cannae. Lucius Aemilius Paulus was a Roman commander at the Battle of Cannae in 216 BCE. Cannae was the worst defeat Rome ever suffered, the greatest victory Hannibal ever achieved. 50,000 Roman soldiers were killed, 50,000 dead in one day. 50,000 fallen to Hannibal's genius. It was the most catastrophic military defeat in Roman history, a disaster of incomparable magnitude. Aemilius Paulus was among the dead, killed in the fighting at Cannae, killed in the catastrophic defeat. He died with his army, died fighting, died on the field of battle. His death was symbolic, a symbol of Rome's vulnerability, a symbol of Hannibal's power. Reason 6. Fabius Maximus died of old age, not in battle. Fabius Maximus was the great Roman strategist, the man who defeated Hannibal's strategy through patience and caution. He was known for his conservative approach, his refusal to fight direct battles, his strategy of delay and attrition. This strategy was controversial. Many Romans wanted direct combat. Many wanted immediate battle. But Fabius knew that direct combat with Hannibal meant defeat, knew that only patience could bring victory. He pursued a strategy of harassment and delay, of small battles and careful positioning, of wearing down Hannibal through time. This strategy was eventually vindicated, eventually proved correct, eventually led to Hannibal's defeat. Fabius did not die in battle. He died of old age, died after the war was won. He died knowing that Rome would ultimately defeat Hannibal, died knowing that his strategy worked, died knowing that his approach was correct. He died with honor and victory, with the satisfaction of being proven right, with the knowledge that Rome would prevail. Reason 5. Massinissa died after the war ended. Massinissa was the Numidian king who changed sides. He was initially an ally of Carthage, but he switched his allegiance to Rome, switched sides to support the Roman cause. He fought for Rome, provided cavalry, provided troops, provided crucial support against Carthage. He survived the Second Punic War, survived the battles, survived the fighting and the bloodshed. He lived long after the war ended, lived to see the peace, lived to see Carthage's defeat. He died after the war ended, died when there was peace, died when the fighting was over. He died of old age, died a victor, died having seen Rome triumph over Carthage. He died knowing that his choice to support Rome had been the right one, died satisfied with his legacy. Reason 4. Scipio Africanus died in exile, away from Rome. Scipio Africanus was Rome's greatest general, the man who defeated Hannibal at Zama in 202 BCE. He was the hero of Rome, the man who saved the Republic, the man who ended the war. He was celebrated, honored, revered by all of Rome. But after his victory, Rome turned against him, turned against their hero, turned against Scipio. He was accused of corruption, accused of financial crimes, accused of betrayal of the state. The accusations were likely exaggerated or false, but the political enemies of Scipio seized the opportunity. They prosecuted him. They put him on trial. They sought to humiliate him. Scipio went into voluntary exile, left Rome, left Italy, left the country that he had saved. He went to Laternum, went to a small town away from Rome, went to live in exile. He died in exile, died away from the city he had saved, died far from Rome. His death was a tragedy. The hero who saved Rome was rejected by Rome, was exiled by Rome, died away from Rome. Reason 3. Hannibal died by his own hand. Hannibal Barca was the greatest general of the Second Punic War, the greatest general of the ancient world. He won battle after battle. He defeated every Roman general he faced. He won every confrontation. He was a genius of strategy, a master of tactics, a brilliant military mind. But Rome had more resources. Rome had more soldiers. Rome could never be completely defeated. Eventually, Hannibal's position became untenable, became impossible, became unsustainable. He was forced to flee Carthage, fled to the east, fled to foreign lands. He lived in exile, lived in Bithynia, lived among enemies who wanted to capture him. Finally, surrounded by Roman forces who were closing in, Hannibal took poison. He chose death over capture, chose death over the shame of being paraded in Rome as a prisoner. He died by his own hand, died a free man, died on his own terms. His death marked the end of an era, the end of Carthage's greatest general, the end of the Carthaginian threat. Reason 2. Attalus of Pergamon died shortly after the war ended. Attalus of Pergamon was an ally of Rome. He fought against Carthage in the Second Punic War. He was a king of a smaller power, provided assistance to Rome, provided troops, provided naval support. He survived the Second Punic War, survived the battles, survived the fighting and the conflict. He did not die in battle, did not fall in combat, did not perish in war, but he died shortly after the war ended, died when peace came, died in the aftermath of conflict. He died of illness or age, died in his homeland, died a victor, died having served Rome. His death was not as dramatic as others, but it marked the passing of another participant in the Great War. Reason 1. The legacy of death. An entire generation of warriors passed from the earth. The Second Punic War lasted 20 years. 20 years of constant warfare, 20 years of conflict, 20 years of generals rising and falling, 20 years of ambition and defeat, 20 years of death. By the time the war ended, an entire generation of generals had passed away, had departed from the world. Some died in battle, died fighting, died with sword in hand. Some died in exile, died far from home, died away from their people. Some died of wounds, died from injuries sustained in combat, died from the consequences of war. Some died of old age after the war ended, died in peace, died having survived the conflict. But all of them died. All of them passed from the earth. All of them became history. The Second Punic War was an era-defining conflict, involved the greatest military minds of the ancient world, involved battles that changed the course of history, involved generals who shaped civilizations and empires, involved strategies that would be studied for millennia, involved tactics that revolutionized warfare. And it involved death, endless death, the death of heroes and legends, the death of military geniuses,